whether it's sailing around the world or go and live in a van or just start a new life? Why don't they go?
Just about everybody you talk to has this idea they love to go travelling. You walk around any office in the UK and you see those kind of inspirational posters on the wall, people mountain climbing in yachts and things. I don't think it's a problem of inspiration. I think it's a problem of hesitation and procrastination.
So what is it then? Why do they procrastinate?
I think it's a few things. Once you get past that initial euphoria of deciding that you want to go, then a load of questions come crashing down on you. Questions about what you're going to do with the kids at school, what you're going to do about money, your work, your possessions, and all this sort of thing. And when those things land, as they inevitably do, I think then people have a kind of a whoa moment. When we did that Telegraph article, we actually had 600 comments, and then I did an analysis of all that to see where people found those blockages. And it came down to basically what we thought. It was community, it was kids, it was all those things that I've just mentioned.
So do you think it's just they have an idea and they want to do it? That idea sounds great. And then they come up with all those reasons why they shouldn't do it. Is that the same for you? Did you find yourself looking at those things?
Jonathan Haidt wrote a book based on that basic subject. The way he did the analogy was, it's like everybody has an elephant inside them. You've got the elephant, which is just the blundering kind of idiot self. And then there's the rider, which is intelligent, thoughtful self. But it tends to be the elephant will just do what it does, and then the rider will just retroactively say that that's what the rider wanted to do all along. So I think if you want to do something, you will just blunder through and get to where you want to be.
So you think that's the heart just making you want to do it, and the head's perhaps not right there yet?
Yeah, perhaps the elephant analogy is trying to say, the head's just following what the heart's doing anyway.
Yeah.
Everything that we did, every decision we made, was based on getting that boat and leaving. We were both in it together in parallel lines doing it, and I think that works. I don't think it's the same for everyone. I think often there's one partner pulling the other, but I think for us we were quite lucky that we both really wanted to do it. I'm presuming that you were singing from the same hymn sheet?
Yeah, it's totally my heart telling me I'm doing it, whatever.
Was there any point you thought like this is just an elaborate midlife crisis?
No, because it wasn't really.
Yes, but did you have that sort of seed of doubt that it might be?
Not at all. No, I didn't have any doubts about anything. I think I was just a bit ignorant to it all. And if I really knew what it would all involve, I might have thought differently. But I just had this dream and this idea. I don't think I really thought about the detail, really. I don't think you can really. When you've got this idea of where you want to be, you don't really think about the detail.
No, you don't overthink it. Sometimes ignorance is probably the best place to start from, I think.
Yeah, if somebody starts to tell you what could happen, you just kind of go, oh, I'm not worried about that or that. And I wasn't interested in any of those things. In fact, to the point where I wish I was a bit more organised. I think I could have been more organised with lots of different things if I stopped to try and think about it, but I didn't. But then I'm always like that, as we know. I just spontaneously do things without thinking, and I have to think about it after.
Yeah. So it's kind of a sink or swim thing with you. You just jump in and then worry about whether you can swim after.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it was probably exactly what I was thinking about.
Whereas me, I would just go and watch a lot of YouTube videos on how to swim and learn about fluid dynamics and things like that.
But you weren't, though, on this occasion, you say? You were just doing it and that's it?
I think we covered that in the last section, whereas you crossed the Atlantic 3 times before you went and did your yacht master, where I went straight to do my yacht master and then decided I was going to cross an ocean. 2 different approaches, but we ended up in the same place.
There wasn't any point you thought it might not happen then?
There were times when I was getting really frustrated with the process. The boat buying process was a nightmare for us, wasn't it? We had so many starts with that and so many setbacks. And then there was the money thing. We were trying to sell a holiday unit that we had down the marina, but with only 19 years left on the lease. The rest of the UK property market was going through the roof. That was actually going in the opposite direction. And every year, it was a year less on the lease, and it was going down in value. It did feel a year into that process that never was going to sell.
Yeah, I think a lot of time it feels like that. There was times when we bought those rundown places and I thought, we'll never live in a place that's not run down and we'll never find the boat. But I think there's a bit of a danger in that too, because I wish I'd prepared more and thought about it and bought a smaller boat, really.
Yeah, we kept having more children and just kept thinking we needed a bigger boat.
I think we had this thing in our head that you can't sail with less than a 50-foot boat across an ocean, because I'd only done it in 50-foot boats.
I think our minimum criteria was 45 foot, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I wish we'd gone with 45 really, or even less. But I think it was a bit of fear, thinking I'll be safe in a big boat, but actually you've got a big boat to deal with then.
I guess that was one of our, but what about we haven't got enough space for the kids. But we did find a bigger boat, but it was a complicated boat and it was a doer-upper.
Again, I think we're in the situation where we didn't know or we didn't know.
And sometimes that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, it means we did it, didn't we?
Yeah,
And we got
yeah.
round and came back again.
It was Henry Ford who said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And I think we had that can-do attitude that kind of pushed us through that.
Oh, I think it got us through loads of times. Was there any times when you thought that we should stop?
There were a few, that's for sure, particularly after the maintenance issues we had in Colombia and Malaysia and Australia. Those were hard times to push through, for me anyway, because I knew there was only me between us staying and us going. We couldn't afford to pay for any mechanics, and the mechanics that we did pay for weren't exactly Formula One, were they?
No. I did start to wonder whether there's someone trying to tell us something. And just stop now. You start to think, is this right? Should you just go with it, or should you actually just stop? Is there too many signs? Because we got to the point, you've got these options, haven't you? When you get to another point, like another canal to cross through to another ocean, it's a good time to decide then, isn't it? Whether you're going to go through and then you're out into the Pacific. Yeah. There's no turning back, or do you stop? Sometimes I thought, what are we doing? We should probably just go back and live a normal, sensible life. But I still had that heart saying, just keep going. But I definitely thought there were signs at times saying, we should probably stop now. Maybe we should stop. That actually really upset me, the idea of stopping. I used to get really down about it.
Yeah, me too. So what does it feel like when you want something properly versus thinking you want something? Did you ever have those times, or can you envision people who get to that point where they think they want it and they talk about it, but then they'll come up with loads of excuses not to go ahead with it?
I think that's different, though, because we didn't ever come up with lots of excuses why not to do it. We just came up with a lot of excuses why we wanted it. And we would just get down about the idea that we shouldn't. There was things that happened to us which made us think we should probably stop, but it was never us thinking of those ideas.
No, that's true. External circumstances.
Which is why I begin to wonder. But it's like having a child, isn't it? We never thought there was any rational reason why we should have a third child when we had one boy and one girl, and it's kind of nice and neat. And it's expensive, you can't fit in a car so easily, but we just irrationally said we just want to have another one.
It just felt like the right decision to make.
It was an irrational decision that drove it forward.
You'd think having a third child, and my mum died at the time, we'd lost the business, and we were trying to do a house which was dilapidated. It is not the ideal circumstances to be thinking about sailing or cruising or anything like that. It was another external factor. It was the financial crisis. We'd spent 5 years building it up, and then all of a sudden the bookings just weren't there anymore. And we were putting so much effort into it, and we were losing money. So it was a logical decision to quit that. So in terms of quitting, we have quit in the past, and that was one of those occasions. How did you feel about quitting that?
I didn't really want to. I didn't want to quit. I loved teaching sailing. I actually think that we could have developed that business more.
We often talked about that, though, didn't we?
But we didn't, though. I think because we weren't very wise and good at business. Maybe we didn't have time. We kept it going, but we didn't market it. We could have kept expanding, really.
We won 2 business awards.
Yeah, we did win business awards, but we worked really hard and we earned very little.
Well, we earned a lot during the 6 months in the summer. But I think it's like any outdoor pursuit business in the UK. You earn really good money in the 6 months of the summer, or the 2 weeks of the summer that you get here. And then the 6 months in the winter, you watch all of that profit just disappearing.
I think, yes, we did win business awards, but we didn't financially do well a year round, and we didn't find ways of solving that problem. We started to think about it, and I think if we had moved in another direction, then we might have been more successful. But I think we were demoralised because we worked so hard and then didn't ever feel like we made much money, which we didn't. I still enjoyed it, we kept going, but we were planning to do this other thing.
And then once the sailing business had folded, we did a lot of different things. For you, there was the baby massage business, there was the hour and live volunteering. You were doing a lot of rentals as well, renting out rooms. So to finish all that, how did that feel?
That was just an interim stage before we set off. I was just filling time and making money.
So you just felt those were kind of space fillers, really? They weren't really something you were emotionally connected with?
I was childminding as well as looking after the rentals, as well as working for Lagoon all at the same time. But I felt like it was going on for so long that I was losing my skills in sailing, which is why I joined the RNLI, because I really wanted to have experience of doing that. And then it was someone at the RNLI that suggested I go and work down the beach as a coxswain down there.
But how did it feel sacrificing those?
Actually, the hardest things to leave were probably the RNLI voluntary work, the beach coxswain thing, because they were confidence builders. It wasn't hard to leave childminding or cleaning a boathouse. So I didn't find it hard to leave those jobs as childminder or cleaner, because after the sailing school, I just felt like I wasn't doing anything really that I liked doing so much and using my skills. So it was a bit of a limbo, but that's why it was kind of nice to get back into it, doing the RLI and teaching a bit and working on the beachfront, because it's kind of me before I had kids.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. So they were the hardest things. It's like your own identity. And the one thing I never realised I would ever get upset about was saying goodbye to some of my closest friends. That was very hard, actually. I realised how important they were when I finally said goodbye. That was very odd. I mean, what did you find most difficult to leave behind?
I was quite enjoying the furniture business. It set out to just make a few quid on the side, but it got to the point where I was getting some big orders in, and I was quite enjoying the challenge of that. We were at the point when we got those big orders in from the festivals that the workshop was in the garage, and it just felt I was bursting at the seams and needed to move out. But obviously I knew I couldn't expand because we were going away. But if we'd stayed, I would definitely have expanded and carried on with that. During the COVID years, I think that would have been a great business to have, because I was making home offices and flat packing them and sending them out via courier. I think that was a sliding door moment, and who knows whether that business would have really taken off. I found that hard to quit, I must admit. And I did try and carry it on the boat, as you know, but more of a design business rather than a production business. And that obviously fell flat on its ass because we didn't exactly have great Wi-Fi. It was the days before Starlink. And obviously trying to keep customers happy and supply chains going, it was virtually impossible. It's different now. When we came back to the Mediterranean and you see people streaming workshops and consultations and things like that using Starlink, it is more possible now to carry on those things. So I think you could take those things with you now. Whereas when we left, we had to quit them all. We had to draw a line on it, burn our bridges, and then go.
I kind of wonder, though, sometimes with all those things that are now available, whether people have really got as much energy and enthusiasm for going, like whether it really is coming from their heart or not. Because if they go, well, it's fine because we can take the kitchen sink with us and we can take the Starlink and always stay on Wi-Fi, and you're not really letting go of so many things. So do you have enough want to do this? We're talking about what we had to leave behind, and we had to leave behind so much. But now with Wi-Fi, you're not leaving behind half as much. You're not even going on a budget like we had to go because you can't work. So is it easier then, do you think, for people to go? Less to leave behind. They can basically carry on with their job wherever they are. Does it make it easier for everyone? I think it does.
It does, but going back to the Jonathan Hyatt elephant analogy, I think if you want to go, you'll go, and if you don't, you don't. It doesn't really matter about the details. It doesn't matter whether you take your waffle maker and your air fryer and things like that.
So do you think in the end you have to want to go fully with your heart? You can't go if it's just an idea. It has to be a thing you're so focused on that that's the only thing that'll let you get you going.
I think it has to almost be an obsession, because knowing what we went through to get out there, two people that were mutually committed and wholeheartedly committed, and the difficulties and the obstacles we had to go through to get there. If you're not wholeheartedly committed, then you just won't get out there. That's why a lot of people just don't go. A lot of people dream about it and talk about it, but just don't go.
I also think that might be something you just dislike so much about life on land that might be another reason to make you go. We know people that have done that, families that have gone because they really don't want to bring their kids up the way you do when you're on land.
I guess kids are quite a big motivational factor.
Or they don't want to live their own life. They don't want to live their own life the way they live in their country, or how their life is at the moment, whatever that might be. It could be the way you want to bring your kids, or you just don't want to live that life, and that's enough for you to go out and try something different.
I guess it's that thing that we talked about previously about the freedom from and the freedom to. So the freedom from the tyranny you might have. There was now this Siberian family who had a big motivational factor to leave their country. But most people are actually from quite well-off first world countries.
Well, even just the mundanity of life. I hear people talk about that, and that's why people get into things like different hobbies, because they just can't bear doing nothing with their lives. It doesn't mean it has to be a war-torn country. You could just go because you can't bear doing nothing with your life.
Yeah, I think it's people pursuing meaning. That's the main driving force for people in the first world anyway. Or the developed world, as it's called.
It's true, and they're in search of that, and that might be a drive forward. They don't really know what they're going to be doing and what they're expecting, but I even think that might be what drove me. I think maybe that was it, meaning was out there, just sailing. Where are you going? You don't know. What are you looking for You don't know, but maybe you're going to find something.
The one thing I think being out there is it does make you grateful for the things you left behind, the things that you used to take for granted.
Or I also think you can come back and wonder why you don't just stay out there. You could come back going, oh, this is fantastic, or going, oh, why did I come back?
So which part are you at the moment then?
Is that this subject? No. Are we going to conclude and say that you either want to do it or you don't? If you want to do it, do it. If you don't, you won't.
In this next chapter, we're going to focus on the real reasons that people don't go. So there's a lot of vague, ethereal reasons that people don't want to go. But again, looking at the analysis of the comments in the Telegraph article, the same things came up again and again, which was, as I said at the beginning, what about the kids? What about money? What about career? What about your stuff? What about insurance? So over the next few episodes, we'll address those one by one, starting with the one that most people asked about, which was about kids. What about the kids' education? And I think that's quite an interesting one because we changed our opinion from when we set off to when we came back quite a lot. So I think that would be worth a bit of an investigative discussion, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.